Are you ready for the hard truth about infinite banking? Listen, right now, infinite banking seems to be everywhere. It's trending on TikTok, people are talking about it in Facebook groups, and it's pitched by surprise overnight insurance agents who just learned how to spell IBC. And unfortunately, most of what's being taught is wrong. Now listen, I've had an infinite banking policy now for 15 years. I've used my first policy and several policies after that to create multi-million-dollar real estate portfolios and achieve financial freedom in just 4 years. If you're using your infinite banking policy to be a consumer buying a car, you're doing it all wrong. And you're missing the entire point. Infinite banking isn't about being a policyholder, it's about becoming a bank. Thinking like a bank, operating like a bank. And banks don't borrow money to buy cars. Banks lend on assets that produce income. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how infinite banking is supposed to work if you want to be financially free. If not, if you just want to buy cars and tell everyone that you're a bank, go on and keep doing that. I'm going to show you how banks actually use leverage, how they use income, and how you can use the infinite banking concept to achieve financial freedom in 10 years or less. Now, my name is Ryan D. Lee, and I run the Wealth Outside of Wall Street YouTube channel and online investing platform. This channel exists to help you take back control over your money, to build passive income, and to achieve financial freedom in 10 years or less. We challenge outdated financial advice, and we throw rocks at people who say they're selling and doing infinite banking when they're just buying cars. So if you're ready to stop following the crowd and start thinking like a bank, a real bank, hit the subscribe button and let's dig in. Now, first off, let's start off with the problem. People are using the infinite banking concept like consumers. Here's what I keep seeing. People are buying life insurance policies that they've been sold is a bank, they're taking loans, and then they're saying, look everyone, I'm a bank, I financed my new car. Now, can you do this? Yeah, sure you can, but you're not doing infinite banking. You're not being a bank. You're being a consumer with a fancy loan. That's not infinite banking, that's spending with a delay. Real banks don't lend on liabilities, they only lend on assets. If you're paying back your policy loan with your earned income, you're trading time for money. You're still in the rat race. And the infinite banking concept at its core is about breaking free from the system, not rebuilding it inside of your policy. So let's take a step back and let's actually examine what banks actually do and why it matters. If you're going to become a bank, you have to understand how banks work. So let's talk about how real banks operate. They use leverage. That's the universal cheat code of all banking systems. They borrow money at a low interest rate to fund higher return opportunities. They're using arbitrage to make money more productive. They only lend on assets, not toys or trips. They require repayment sources, which means they want to know how the loan is going to be paid back and when it's going to be paid back. And they never use their own labor to repay loans. They let their assets do the work instead. So let me ask you this. When you go to the bank and apply for a loan, what do they ask you for? Well, they want to know about you. They want to know what you're buying because that's collateral. They want to know about your income because you're the assets. And they want to know about how fast you're going to be able to pay them back. And if they don't get the money back from you, how they can use the collateral, the thing you're buying with debt, to make sure that they're paid back. But if you understand what just happened, the bank is looking at you, the income producer, as the asset. They're not just protecting their money, they're protecting their business model. They only make money when they're confident that the asset is going to repay the loan. You're the one that's going to go to work, trade your time for dollars, and repay them with an interest rate. In this example, you're the asset. So, my friends, inside of the infinite banking concept, your objective is to think like a bank. And if you're the one paying back your policy loan, then my friends, you're just acting like a consumer using a life insurance policy instead of a bank. Now, is it more profitable? Maybe. And the reason I say maybe is most people don't function very well paying back policy loans, especially when they used it to buy a liability. Now, let's go one step deeper with this, because right now, the US government is in massive debt, but banks get their cue from the US government. I want you to think about this for just a moment. Everyone says the government is reckless, and I'll agree with that 100%. The national debt is outlandishly out of control. But there is a catch to that. Inside of the national debt, there is an asset behind every dollar of US debt. And unfortunately, that asset is you. Well, it's me too, but it's us, right? It's labor, it's taxes, it's productivity. And in reality, the US government is operating just the exact same way a bank is. You're never going to see a politician out there swinging a hammer paying back the debt. No, that's passed on to the US taxpayer. But every dollar printed, there is a real asset standing behind that dollar. So let's talk about how to use the infinite banking strategy the right way. Now, for me, I call infinite banking a policy, a vault. It's when we have an overfunded high cash value life insurance policy. It's when we put as much of our capital that we traded our time, effort, or energy for into an overfunded life insurance policy, building massive stores of cash value and minimizing the cost of insurance. That's how we set up the bank. Now let's talk about how to use the bank. And to do this, let's go to a couple of graphics that are going to help model this out for us. Okay, first step, we're going to use our infinite banking policy, the vault, to buy a real asset. An asset is something that produces cash flow independent of you having to sell the asset. An asset, like Robert Kiyosaki says, is something that puts cash in your pocket. So we're going to take our monthly savings, as much money as we possibly can, and put it into an overfunded high cash value life insurance policy. We're then going to leverage that line of credit, meaning we're leveraging the insurance company's money, not our money, and we're going to buy an asset that produces an income stream. This is the most critical part. A car, unless you're renting it out, does not produce an income stream. We need that income stream to pay back the line of credit to our vault. We are both the bank and the borrower. We have to think like both people. As the borrower, we want to go out and buy an asset. We want to do our due diligence to buy a cash flowing asset. And as a bank, we want to ensure that we, the bank, get paid back as efficiently and as quickly as possible. But here's the magic, okay? The magic of doing this versus buying a car is your money now is literally working in two assets at the same time. Congratulations, my friend. You just entered the world of real banking. You have dual compounding. Your money is compounding and growing inside of the vault. And because you use the line of credit of your vault, your overfunded life insurance policy, and you functioned and acted like a bank to buy an asset, your money is also growing and compounding inside of that asset as well. And the key is that asset produces a stream of income, whether that's monthly rent, whether that's quarterly dividend distributions, whatever it is, it's producing income independent of the asset. You, as a banker, an honest banker, are going to use that income to repay your vault line of credit. Now, why are you going to do this? Well, you're going to do this because inside of the world that we live in today, today's economy, velocity wins. How fast you can move your money rather than keeping it idle is how fast you can achieve financial freedom. And if you get good at running this banking system, your objective is to operate just like a bank. The second a loan is paid off in a normal bank, they're turning around, lending out that same dollar all over again. Velocity wins. And so what that ultimately means is if we can do it one time, if we can buy one cash flowing asset, it might take us months, it might even take us years to pay back that policy loan. But what if we did that same process over again? What if we bought another cash flowing asset as our vault line of credit is replenished? Well, now we have two assets, making the loan repayment twice as fast. Then once we do it again, the third time, the loan repayment becomes 3 times as fast. Every single time we run this system, we're moving our money faster and faster and faster. Over the last 15 years, I've used my infinite banking policies to build a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio. What used to take me years to pay back a policy loan, I can now do in months. The money and the asset base moves so fast today that I build wealth almost automatically. And it starts by thinking like a bank. It starts by understanding how banks operate, and then it's translated into building and using a life insurance policy as a bank. Not as a consumer to buy cars, but as a bank to buy assets. Every time I run this cycle, it restores my capital, it increases my cash flow, and that is the cash flow snowball. That's what real infinite banking looks like. So stop mimicking consumers with a life insurance policy and start thinking like a bank. Here's the wake-up call. If you're using your policy to finance consumer items, cars, vacations, appliances, you're not being the bank. Stop acting like it, stop talking like it, and start raising your financial intelligence. You're being a borrower in your own system. And sure, the loan might be more efficient than a credit card, but it's not real wealth building. The goal isn't just to use the policy. The goal is to build a system that multiplies wealth and frees you from the grind. So stop saying you're the bank and start functioning like the bank instead. Infinite banking is one of the most powerful financial strategies possible as long as you think and operate like a bank. So if you want to learn how to actually implement this strategy, watch the videos on this challenge. I talk about this concept all the time. And if you really care about becoming free, start with sharing this video. Friends don't let friends retire broke, and my invitation to you is to rise up with your money, take control, and become the bank. Don't just talk about the bank.